record the audio portion of our interview, and then I'm going to transfer it so you could hear it and see some visuals attached to it on YouTube as well, as long as with the interview on interview article on the website as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So I think the first question would be just give us the backstory on you being interested in this story, your know-how about this story, and your interest of going forward and trying to obtain the rights, and then eventually creating a project around it. Hello?
Oh, can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is for Mamie too, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think I told Annette that we don't own the rights to Mamie Till because it's her story has been beyond 50 years, so we don't own rights to that. But it's just a public domain story about her life and just doing research. And I knew about her, but I really didn't understand until I did a lot more and delved into the research what phenomenal woman that she was, and how she was basically, her courage prompted so many pivotal civil rights heroes to stand up for civil rights. So in a sense, she is the mother of civil rights. So that's how the story came about. Just finding out that she laid the groundwork for Rosa Parks, Medgar Evers, and a lot of the people beyond. And I was asked to write this by a producer, Rashawn Freer, who approached me and asked me to write the script. And I was really moved to write it because I care so much about the Emmett Till story. And so it was really a very personal thing for me to do, was to write it and to talk about and to kind of expose some of the myths around it and to let people know what a courageous woman she was.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you, I don't know how you feel about it, but what's the importance and significance for you as a writer to tell our stories, in particular this story about a like you said, one of the early civil rights icons, because of the horrific thing that happened to her son, her taking that on.
Yeah, it's so funny because when I think of Emmett Till, and I try to explain this to people who are not Black Americans, we're kinship. It's like we're all related in a way, because when something happens to one of us, we feel it in such a visceral way. So for me, I have a son and brothers and nephews and cousins that, it could, those kinds of things even today could be very reminiscent to Emmett Till. And in fact, like we see with George Floyd, these things are still happening. As we saw with Tamir Rice, 12 years old in Cleveland, Ohio, these things are still happening. Trayvon Martin, 16 years old in Florida, these things are still happening. So Breonna Taylor, 27, Louisville, Kentucky, still happening. These things that happened to our great Emmett Till, unfortunately, are reflective of what is happening even today. I felt that we really needed to create a narrative to where they could see that kind of penmanship and see that there's a direct correlation between Emmett Till and those today. So I really felt a connection to really make sure that story got out.
Yeah, most definitely. I wanted to touch on that as well. The whole country is seeing, the whole world is seeing what has happened to George Floyd, and like you just said, unfortunately, this wasn't the first time, um, and the most notable case of the last century, you could argue, is Emmett Till's case. I just want you to speak on that unfortunate circumstance, that unfortunate correlation as far as Emmett Till's story, his mother's story, and George Floyd and his family story.
Yeah, I mean, when I really got an opportunity, because this movie is written from the POV, or the point of view, of Mamie Till. So you're really getting to, especially as a writer, delve into her pain, and even talking about it is very emotional for me, because it was they were so close. When you think of it, like your mother and you, it's like it's so real, and it's just like they were just best friends. It wasn't just a mother and son. I mean, she's a single mother raising this beautiful, beautiful boy, black boy, who's delivering newspapers and living his life, and has dreams of being an attorney, and he's funny and he cracks jokes, and he's not thinking he's gonna go visit his cousins like you did in the South. Like I'm from Louisville, Kentucky originally, so I went to Tennessee in the summers. In his case, Mississippi, and not thinking that I'm not gonna come back. And so to write that from the mother's pain, and her finding the news that her son was murdered, and just ripped from her, and he's missing. And well, first he's just missing, and she has no idea where he is, and she's calling the mayor, fighting to get the mayor to call the governor of Mississippi to get someone to look for him. And this woman fought. I mean, she didn't care. What I loved about her, I mean, that time period in the 50s, for her to have the courage to, I'm not going to accept that my son's missing. I'm calling the mayor. He's going to call the guy. I mean, she fought to make sure that her son mattered. And it's just like these mothers today that are fighting to make sure that justice for Breonna Taylor in Kentucky, and her mother's fighting. And even to George Floyd, whose mother passed on, he cried out for his mother, because he knew that his mother cared about him. So the connection of these strong, amazing women and their love for their children is still today. It's scary and sad that it's still today. But you're talking 70 years later, or 65 years later, and we're still in this, that same place. Like, it's a time warp. And so I feel like, to me, it's a reflection of what we're dealing with in society today.
It's definitely a reflection, and a sad, like you said, like a sad time warp of occurrences that keep on happening. The same circumstances, the same black male, but a different name, and it definitely hurts.
It hurts every time we hear it. Every time we hear it, we've been hurting for 65 years. We've been hurting for 400 years. And I think what's happened with the protests is that we're tired, and that thankfully we have some brothers and sisters of all races who are tired with us and standing with us. Unlike back then, which is different, where it was very polarized, but there was a really amazing attorney who was fighting for the prosecution of Emmett Till's killers, and who took on a lot of pain trying to get justice for his death, and he made sure there was an arrest, but they didn't end up getting prosecuted. I mean, winning the case, but it's a reflection of a lot of today, where we're our children are being murdered, like for instance, Trayvon Martin, and yes, he gets tried, but he doesn't end up paying any kind of price for what he did to that poor boy. So to me, it's very personal and visceral because there's a dehumanization of Black life, as there was back then, as there is today. And I felt like, for me, it was really important as a writer to make sure that people understood that this was such a brilliant woman who was not going to stand for it. She was not going to stand for her son being murdered, and there would be no voices crying out for justice.
Mm-hmm. So, tell me more about the process of you going about writing this story. Obviously, you'll have your own take and your own vision on it. And if you could just let us in a little bit and tell us about what to expect from the movie. Will it also have a message along with it?
Yeah, I mean, what's again so great about this? Well, the process. The first question you said, the process. I really got a chance to study the court case, the actual court case, closed court case documents that were there, and when you listen to the actual court case and you get to see the uncle who was at home when they took him, and the cousins, and they were interviewing the uncle, and the way the defense basically just picks apart how uneducated he was, and how they tried to darken. And I see that even today with some of these people on television. They darkened Emmett Till. They tried to treat him like he was someone to be feared, as I do see this on television today. And to try to say, well, this person did this, and so that's why he was murdered. So the process for me is studying the court case and thinking about those people having to get on the stand. You have to understand, back in that time period, the different people that had to get on the stand, the cousins or just people that were bystanders. They had to end up moving from Mississippi and be hidden under witness protection in Illinois because there were death threats for them to speak out. You don't speak out back then. So just really getting to the minds of the killers, which was painful for me, because as you write it, you understand that there's a hollowness there, and that they really don't have any sense of. It's like they killed an animal. It's like they killed an object, not like that person is human.
Wow.
So if you write it, you'll understand that it's such a reflection of today.
Mm-hmm.
When I have to watch the news and hear about this Black boy, well, he was this, and he was on the wrong side of the tracks, and he was blah blah blah, which means a death sentence, right? That he was on the wrong side of the tracks, or that he did anything, stole it, or a $20 bill, or he had a $20 bill that wasn't real, so therefore he deserves a death sentence. I mean, it's ridiculous, and
yes.
It's so much like what I saw in the Emmett Till case, that for me, like even right now, it's such having wrote Emmett Till, the story, it pains me on such a deep level today, because I see the correlation between 65 years ago and today.
Wow. And to touch back on the importance of us telling our stories, that's incredibly important. I think people know that more than ever, that we have to shape our own narrative, because if we allow others to do it, it will be misrepresented, and even worse, it'll be characterized as something evil or bad and demonized as if we were the perpetrators and we weren't.
That's
we
right.
were just Black.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Um, and piggybacking on what the brilliant thing you just said, um, I think for our people, if we understood, I think it was Coretta Scott King that says freedom is never won.
Mm.
It's fought generation to generation. And she says the struggle is it's fought generation to generation. Is that each generation there's a new group of civil rights leaders that God puts here and that are in the fight. And even people like you and, the new Dr. Kings, the new, Malcolm X's, new Roses, new Corettas. This generation are just a brilliant generation. They're not afraid to speak up and speak out and fight through proper means to make sure their voices get heard. So, yeah.
And I know we talked about what type of message you want to convey through the through the script, through the project you're gonna do, but what do you hope people what do you hope the message people will get once they hear this story, once they read up more on this story, once they hear more about what you're trying to say?
Well, for instance, I forgot to just piggyback on with Sean Fair bringing the project to me, and then we optioned it with Tracy Edmonds of Edmonds Entertainment. And just being the writer for this, and I'm simply what I want people to understand that their voice is not too small. And because Mamie Till is just this like beautiful, sweet, demure woman who changed the world. Because Rosa Parks, one of the things she said was that she wouldn't get the reason why she didn't get up from her seat was that she thought about Emmett Till. She said, I'd seen those pictures, and she said, and I knew I couldn't get up.
Wow.
And had she not fought to make sure that those pictures got in Ebony Jet magazine, and Jet magazine, and made sure that the world, she said, I want the world to see what they did to my son. They were trying to hide it.
Yeah.
But had she not had the courage, where would we be today? How much longer would the fight be? So I think your voice is not too small. Don't feel that because I don't have the money or because of where I'm from or where I live that the voice is too small. Your voice is strong enough. It is born for this moment. And if you don't speak out, how much farther will we be from making it? How much sooner can we make it if you do?
Wow, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So tell me a little bit more about the details of when can we expect this project, and if there's anything else attached to this project that is vital information.
Right now, what's great is, like I said, Tracy is out and she's meeting with some production companies on the project, and we're getting very close to being able to present something, but I have to keep that under wraps. But basically, we're thinking about some people being attached to it that can play her because she's such a powerful woman. But she's also very demure. So casting the right person is absolutely critical. But that's where we are, and we're at the point of in that final stages. But I'm just excited that the story is getting out and that people are going to soon be able to hear about Mamie Till and how amazing of a person she was.
Wow, thank you for that. I also wanted you to also not only talk about your feelings about what you're going to write for the script or developing, but also talk about your career and other people's careers going forward. What are some other stories, some of our stories that you feel aren't as told, or maybe you felt was misrepresented in the past that you want to continue to tell beyond the script?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, can I just say I love being a Black woman. I love being Black. And I love that we have so many amazing stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing to me that people who are not of Black descent don't understand that we are so multifaceted and we're not a monolith.
Mm-hmm.
So I think some of the stories that I want to tell are just so different and showing us beautiful because we're beautiful people. And so stories like Mahalia Jackson's story, which is a biopic, that's the one other biopic I wrote that
Mm-hmm.
is about the gospel singer Mahalia Jackson and
Mm-hmm.
talking about she was such a regal queen. Just a but she was when you talk about I have a dream speech. There's another hidden figure um, where they had a private conversation, her and Dr. King,
Mm-hmm.
about his dream.
Mm.
And it wasn't even a speech. It was just like he had a dream um, about all of the people getting together, and that was a dream he had. And so when he does the speech at the Washington Monument, and he's speaking, um, and he's doing this kind of orator kind of professional perfect kind of speech.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden you hear her say, "Tell him about the dream, Martin, tell him about the dream," because she's trying to get him to
Mm.
talk off script,
Yeah, talk from the heart.
talk from the heart. And then he just starts speaking from the heart. And so they were so close as kind of like brothers and sisters that he would call her from being on the road and just have her sing a song to him to give him strength.
Mm.
And so that I didn't realize that she was such a pivotal part of the
Yeah.
civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that she was singing with him on the road when he would go and do rallies.
Wow.
And that she would be sending money along with Aretha Franklin also did that to help with his rallies and the movement.
Wow.
So stories like that. I also am writing a dramedy about a Black family who it's modern day who
Mm-hmm.
basically have a white son, which is on a true story. But they're all adults, and he comes back to his Black family and tries to get his white family to learn about his Black roots. We always see the movie where it's the kind of the Great White Hope,
Mm-hmm.
and they save the Black child, and
Yeah.
thank God for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm showing how they saved the white child, thank God for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called Welcome to the Good Life, and it's a dramedy. So I'm creating things I don't see that I want to see that I think we are, and just excited for the next phase of my career.
Thank you. That's really incredible. Thank you for having thank you for making the time to do this.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate your show, the title of the show,
Mm-hmm.
and that I hope you continue to stay young, bold, and hungry because we need you to. And I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I tell people all the time when I started Young, Bold, and Regal, it's dedicated to Black women. It's
Wow.
and just the other day I said in an interview, like it's my personal love letter to Black women as far as everything that they do.
Amazing.
So and then a lot of people maybe ignorantly would ask me, is it only about Black women? I'm like, no, we cover all types of topics and people, but Black women will always be at the centerpiece of Young, Bold, and Regal. And I asked them, does GQ only feature white men? No, but that's always at the center of their magazine, rightfully so. They're able to do that, but just because mine is about Black women, it's not going to only cover that. You know what I mean? So I always make it an emphasis that it's Young, Bold, and Regal is for everybody, but it is about Black women. It's about their innovativeness, and there are and there's so many topics, and there's so many discussions that people might think comes out of nowhere. I'm like, no, we're having that discussion because either a black woman started that conversation and you guys unfairly forgot about that and we're reminding you,
Yes.
or black women need to be included in those spaces or conversations because they have so much to contribute and you guys aren't looking at it like that.
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so you have a book. You have a book coming out soon. I
Yeah, everybody keeps on telling me that. Man, I'm just I'm just happy to tell people stories, you know?
That's right.
Yeah, and it's so interesting too because I started it about 7 years ago, and then previously I freelanced, wrote for certain magazines, and essentially
Yeah.
I started it, because I wanted to see more black women and their stories being told. And then a lot of people would ask me like, what do I consider myself, like a writer, a blogger, a journalist? And I just tell people I'm a storyteller.
I love it.
I'm
I
that
love it.
person that goes at the top of the hill and yells that person's name because
Yes.
they need to
God.
be they need
You
to
need
be
to.
shown. Yeah, it
Oh
needs
yeah.
to be, yeah. And a lot of times I think all the time most of the people are doing the work that they don't see an outside perspective to tell them what you're doing is important, what you're doing is necessary, what you're doing is advancing the culture,
Yes.
advancing
Yes.
something that's real. You're inspiring all types of different generations with what you're doing.
Yes. Yes. That is so true. Thank God for you. And thank God for whoever poured the greatness in you and whatever mother, aunt took the time to tell you that black women were important. So I appreciate you, and I'm just so honored that you invited me for this interview. So happy to do it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And then
You're welcome.
yeah, as I said, when you have the time, just send over a couple images of you and your work, or just a photo you feel comfortable being
Yeah, absolutely.
on YouTube and all that, and then I'll combine the two, the audio and then the photo, and this will be up on YouTube, and also it'll be an article written on on the Young Bold and Regal website.
Awesome. And I will send that tonight. And again, I appreciate you so much for thinking of me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
And then also any updates about the story or any other updates about any of your other projects, definitely would love to do another interview with you.
Oh, absolutely. Would love to. I sure will. I'll keep you up to date.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, bye.